recipe. This is something new, inspired from a video I saw online, just a regular cooking video from a channel that I watch. And I figured I'm going to apply said recipe to camping food. And I imagine those in the United States are more familiar of this recipe than us Canadians. I think it's one of their kind of more comfort foods. I'm going to make chicken.
So here we have all the ingredients, or as the French like to say, mise en place. And when you're frying up a bunch of things, it's good to have everything ready. And the most important thing about dehydrating food, you need everything to be, you know, the same size. So if you have like huge chunks and then little chunks, it's not going to dry at the same rate. So we have onions, celery, green onions, some garlic, some parsnip, and carrots. And I just happen to have rainbow carrots, but you can use regular carrots. If you don't have parsnips, you don't have to put them in. I just had them around. I figured it'd be nice. Here I have some ground chicken, and I'm using ground meat because it rehydrates much better than if you just cut up chicken and dehydrate it and then rehydrate it. Hamburger works best. And then just a blend of herbs. And in here I have parsley, savory, marjoram, sage, thyme, and rosemary. So I'm just going to add in a touch of oil. And there's an order in which that it's best to add things. First thing you usually add is onions because they benefit the most from longer cooking. And then after that you do in the order of how hard the vegetables are. So I'll start off with the carrots and parsnips and then do the celery last. And I'll show you each time. You just kind of, the onions are kind of waiting for them to turn kind of translucent. If you want, you can brown them if you want something more sweet. This is where you can play with your own matter of taste. With onions, you can start them off on high heat, but when you start to see the edges getting brown too fast, you need to turn them down. It's when onions cook, their sugars start to come out, and then they'll just be more likely to burn. So usually you have to keep turning the temperature lower and lower and lower, especially if you're trying to brown them. But about this point, I can add in all my root vegetables, and parsnips and carrots kind of have the same consistency, so just kind of add them all at the same time. And I mean, it's fine if there's a little bit of mixed onion and carrot in there, it's all good. Cook. So you let these go until, I guess, you know, you'll start seeing the juices and that come out of your onion, out of the carrots. They'll start getting soft, a little bit soft, and then it'll probably be about time to put in the celery. So the carrots have had a chance to cook a little bit. They're starting to get a little bit soft, and you can, almost looks like the edges are getting a little bit translucent. So I'm going to add in the last bit of food, which is my celery. And I'm going to add in a touch of salt. Not too much, because when I put the rest of the mix together once this is all dehydrated, it's going to rely on chicken base. So I know the chicken base is quite salty, so I don't want to add too much, but then again I want the vegetables to have some flavor, so they'll need a little bit of salt. Alright, so now I'm going to add in the meat. Breaking it all up. I'm going to add in all the herbs and a generous amount of pepper. And now I'm just going to cook everything until the meat is cooked through, and then it'll be ready to load it into the
when it's done, it should look about like this. I made sure to break up all the clumps of of meat so that everything's the same size. There's a little one here. You can break them up too when you're loading it into dehydrator. So I'm gonna load them onto the trays. I'm putting down the sheets, just keeps the bits from falling through the cracks, and it makes it easier to pull out all the dried food once it's done dehydrating. Okay, so I've got the trays all loaded. It's a good idea to preheat the dehydrator so it comes up to temperature. It's important to put warm foods in if it's cooked or if it's meat. If it's raw vegetables that you're running through or fruits, you don't have to preheat the fruit. The reason why you do that is so bacteria can't grow, because bacteria will grow between temperatures of 4 degrees Celsius and 60 degrees Celsius. So I've got it on full blast right now. I'm gonna put the lid on. I have the lid on full vent, and I'll look at it in the morning, and tomorrow I might put it down to half. So I have this is like the dehydrated mixture for the chicken and dumplings, and to that I'm just gonna add a tablespoon of it's like a no MSG chicken base. I think I'll add another tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of chicken base. After all, it's going to be a soup. So I'm taking a second bag and I'm writing out the directions that I need. So I need to add in half a cup of water and 1 to 2 tablespoons of butter at the campsite. And I also made a note because I don't have any baking powder at home, so I'm going to add it in tomorrow morning when I buy some. So I just added that note. So for the biscuit mix, you need a cup of flour, just regular all-purpose flour, and then I would need 2 teaspoons of magic powder. I need 2 teaspoons of milk powder, and I actually happened to find buttermilk powder, so it's going to be buttermilk biscuits. A bit tastier. And a half teaspoon of salt. Now salt's an important step because if you don't put it in, your biscuits are going to taste very bland. And I think a teaspoon of sugar. Sugar. And I'm going to add in, just to jazz things up a bit, 2 teaspoons of dried parsley and a good tablespoon of dried chive. And you can add whatever herbs you like. And there we have our biscuit mix. So just get the air out of that. Put it in with the mix, putting in a piece of paper towel, just for humidity. So I'll keep it out of the freezer. So it's ideal to get as much air as you can out. And then have another packaged meal. This is also once more for 4 people. I'm going to prepare my chicken and dumplings. So this is the dumplings packet that we won't need for later. Take out the paper towel, and I'm just going to put this in some boiling water. I also had put in some water from Rehydrating mushrooms from breakfast, just for a little bit of extra flavor. So I'm just going to let this reconstitute throughout the afternoon, and then when we're ready we'll just cook it on the fire. So it's been rehydrating all day and it's looking and smelling like soup. So I'm just going to let it simmer slowly on the side of the fire for maybe 40 minutes. And since I have some leftover pizza sauce, I'm going to put that in.
And I got the tomato liquid from the can of crushed tomatoes we used for the Stewart steak the other day. So I'm going to add that in. If you don't have the tomato, you don't have to add it in. But I got it, so why not? It'll add some extra flavor. And I'm just going to let it simmer on the side of the fire. We have everything we need here, and we need to add in half a cup of water and a tablespoon or 2 of butter. So, in goes the powder. And we're going to cut in the butter like you would for if you were making pie dough. You just put little, you're going to get your hands dirty, little pats of butter. You just coat them in the flour. And you just coat them all with butter, and you just pinch it. And coat it with flour and pinch it. Coat it with flour and pinch it. So you're just pinching the butter in. And also gives me a chance to break up. Apparently the powdered milk clumped up, so I'm just breaking that up in my fingers as well. And you're gonna just get this, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, it's this kind of crumbly looking mixture. You get this kind of crumbly looking mixture, you know, your butter's all incorporated in. And now we're ready to add in our water. So in goes half a cup of water. It's gonna get this kind of fluffy texture. And I'm just gonna let it rest a couple minutes for the baking powder to kind of do its thing, and then we'll add them into the soup. So to make the dumplings, you take 1 spoonful of the dough, and you're just gonna scrape it along the edge of 1 spoon, and then do the same back and forth a couple times to make an egg shape, and then you're just gonna slide it off into the soup. And you just keep doing it till it's all in the pot. So now we just want to put the lid on and just have it simmer for 15. When you take off the lid, you'll notice all the dumplings floating on top. And I just mixed them in before turning on the camera to see what the consistency was like. But it's actually nicely thick. So we're gonna give it a taste. In goes some dumplings. It's very hot. The dumplings have a nice soft texture, and the soup itself is very tasty. I think the tomato was a nice touch, nice extra touch, but of course you don't have to put it in. It's just I was using up some leftovers I had in my cooler. Now this would be really good for a cold day. A really good hearty warm meal. Very good.